Hello, and welcome to the Deep Dive, where the show that takes your notes and sources and really digs into them to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge for you. Today, we're embarking on a bit of a literary adventure. We're unpacking the surprising and actually often quite heartbreaking real-life inspirations behind one of fiction's most enigmatic figures, Captain Nemo.
That's right. Our source material today, it's a fascinating historical account, and it reveals that the legendary Captain Nemo from Jules Verne's novels, well, he wasn't just made up. He was, in fact, inspired by Verne's actual childhood friend, a man named André Nemo. And his life was just this series of incredible triumphs, but also profound tragedies.
Yeah, so our mission today is to explore these sort of parallel lives. You've got the visionary author, Verne, and then this dark genius, André, who unknowingly became his muse. Get ready for a journey that's honestly even more fantastic than the fiction. It's filled with surprising facts, deep insights into things like ambition, loss, and really the nature of storytelling itself. So what does this all mean for how we understand a classic like 20,000 Leagues?
Let's unpack this for you.
Okay, so our deep dive begins in Nantes. That's this bustling port city in France where both Jules Verne and André Nemo grew up.
Mhm.
The source paints a picture, elm trees, thick vines, almost reminiscent of a sailing ship itself.
And right away, you see this really striking contrast in how they were raised. Jules, he's the son of a pretty stern lawyer. Famously, his father snatched him off the three-masted Coral Lee before he could sail around the world, called it boyhood foolishness.
Right, but André, totally different story. He's the free-spirited son of a widowed shipbuilder. Adventure was just in his blood, it seems.
Absolutely, he embraced it.
But despite that strict upbringing, Jules did have this deep love for the sea, just like André. Apparently, they'd walk by the Loire River, eating bananas from, East Indies, trading clippers, dreaming of faraway places.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, how early did André Nemo's, incredible ingenuity start showing up? The source actually details this early experiment he did. Modified wineskin, some reeds. He was absolutely convinced he could walk and breathe underwater.
Wow. And Jules, was he convinced?
Well, initially he was incredulous, apparently. But he came to believe his fiery-eyed friend could actually pull it off. He even planned to write a chronicle of their underwater adventures. You see that dynamic already, right?
Yeah.
The doer and the writer.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Both of them, these young guys, were totally infatuated with Caroline Aronnax, described with cornflower blue eyes and hair like honey caught on fire.
And they both tried everything to impress her, even though, realistically, neither had much of a chance with her very strict mother sort of guarding the gates.
That early dynamic, it seems to set the stage for so much later on.
It really does. But then tragedy hits Nantes. The Cynthia, a ship André's father built, nearly finished. It just exploded and sank. The source describes black smoke just gushing like a geyser. Horrific.
And André, he actually tried to save his father, didn't he? Plunged into the river with that breathing contraption.
He did. Desperate effort. But it was in vain. And there's this callous detail the source reveals. Jules's father, the lawyer, he later remarked that Nemo's father had no money, was bankrupt.
Oof. That really highlights the difference in their worlds, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So suddenly André is left penniless, fatherless, facing utter destitution.
But Caroline steps in.
Yes, Caroline. With her sort of independent spirit, she arranges for him to get signed aboard the Coral Lee, that same ship Jules was meant to sail on. It was an English research and trading vessel. Basically, she gave him a future.
And Jules wanted to go too, right?
Yeah.
He even promised.
He did. Wanted to join him, promised he would, but then last minute, he backed out. And it just reinforces that pattern, André, the instigator, the one who acts. Jules, the naysayer, the observer.
So André Nemo heads off on the Coral Lee, leaving everything behind. What happens to him at sea? He obviously becomes a capable sailor, but what else shapes him?
Well, he thrives, transforms from a cabin boy into this strong, capable sailor, yes. But crucially, he finds a mentor in Captain Grant. Grant shares his vast knowledge, but the real game changer. He introduces André to Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks.
Okay, so that's where the engineering really kicks in.
Exactly. Imagine finding among all these sketches, crossbows, scythed chariots, even flying machines, a design for a small boat designed to travel underwater.
That's a massive aha moment right there.
Huge. And Captain Grant even tells him about earlier attempts. Cornelius Drebbel's 1620 submarine boat.
Wow, 1620.
Yeah, and even more significantly, Robert Fulton's Nautilus from the turn of the century.
The Nautilus, there it is, the name itself.
The name itself, born from these real-world things. It really makes you think how much these actual innovations shaped Verne's fiction later on.
Meanwhile, back in France, Jules Verne is stuck, studying law in Paris, like his father wanted, hating it.
A total contrast to André's life at sea. And he's in Paris during the 1848 revolutions. He sees the barricades, hears the gunshots, but from a distance.
Right, the source says he noted his friend Nemo would probably have gone running in with a flag in one hand and a musket in the other.
But Verne himself, he valued his personal safety. It's quite telling, isn't it? The observer versus the participant.
And what about Caroline? Her path takes a different turn, too.
A very different and quite constrained path. Despite her feelings, presumably for André, she's married off to Captain Hatteras, an ambitious explorer.
Another sea captain.
Another sea captain. Her forced marriage really underscores the societal limits placed on women then. But, and this is important, she secretly kept composing music. She refused to just let society define her completely. That spirit was still there.
Okay, back to André. His time on the Coralie doesn't end well, does it?
No, it's cut short by a really brutal pirate attack. He barely survives, clinging to wreckage.
And finds himself stranded on a mysterious island.
Exactly. And this is where his resilience just shines. The source says he builds a granite house completely from scratch.
Incredible.
Weaving furniture, tanning hides for clothes. He even designs and builds a functional glider.
A glider, wow.
Yeah, he becomes this showcase of primitive technology, like a real-life Swiss Family Robinson, but maybe more. Methodical, using those Da Vinci-esque drawings to plan everything out. That isolation, it just honed his engineering skills, his self-reliance, skills that would be absolutely crucial later.
So after years in this isolation, André Nemo finally makes it back to France. And he's not the penniless orphan anymore?
No, he's not. He actually attracts quite a bit of attention for his extraordinary adventures. And he leverages this modest fame to get a formal education. Excels in engineering at the Paris Academy.
He even gets noticed by Emperor Napoleon III.
Yes. The emperor himself tasks him with big projects, modernizing the Nantes shipyards, redesigning the Paris sewers, important work.
But he wasn't entirely satisfied.
Well, the source notes he often missed the challenge of constructing a simple counterweight elevator or excavating his cave dwelling. You get this sense of breathlessness, this growing dissatisfaction with quote-unquote civilized life. It's a hint of what's to come.
Okay, and now we get to the balloon expedition. This part is just amazing.
It really is. Nemo, alongside Caroline, who is presumably still married to Hatteras at this point, though the dynamic is clearly complex, and to Dr. Ferguson, they embark on this groundbreaking balloon trip across Africa in the Victoria.
And they see Kilimanjaro, confirming those reports about a snow-covered peak right at the equator that people had ridiculed.
Exactly. Scientific validation. But the trip itself was incredibly dangerous. They jettisoned elephant tusks as ballast. They were attacked by giant condors. I mean, real peril.
And they encountered slavers, too.
Yeah. Yes. In Zanzibar and deeper into Africa, they witnessed horrific atrocities. And this profoundly affected Nemo. It seems to have really hardened his view of humanity, or at least parts of it.
Then during the journey, Nemo actually falls out of the balloon into Lake Chad.
He does. A terrifying moment. And Caroline's reaction is key. She's fiercely determined to find him, even when Dr. Ferguson is advising pragmatism, saying they need to move on.
She knew he'd survive somehow.
She said she knew he could find a way to draw attention to himself. It really underscores the depth of your feelings, her faith in him.
That trip must have cemented their bond.
Undoubtedly. But the source points out, publishing an account of it, with a woman participating in the company of a young man to whom she was not married.
Ah, that would cause a huge scandal back home.
A massive scandal. Tells you so much about the times they lived in.
But Nemo's adventures just keep coming. The Crimean War.
Right. He's called to the war, gets injured, even encounters Florence Nightingale there.
But then things take another dark turn. Abducted.
Yes. Abducted by this figure called Caliph Rober, described as a warlord. Rober forces Nemo and other captured engineers to build him a new submarine vessel.
So this is where the Nautilus comes into being, but under duress.
Exactly. Under Rober's thumb, he's forced to create the Nautilus, but this time, specifically, as a warship. And you have to wonder how Nemo endured that imprisonment. But there's also a personal side here. The source reveals he marries Uda, described as a clever Turkish maiden who actually acts as his spy within Rober's circle.
Yeah.
And they have a son together. They name him Jules.
A son named Jules, wow. A brief moment of happiness then.
Very brief. Because Rober's political maneuvering leads to utter disaster, The destruction of this place, repente.
And Nemo loses his family.
Tragically, yes. His wife Auda, his son Jules. Lost in the destruction. The source says Nemo felt as destroyed inside as the entire city.
That's devastating. It's hard to even imagine.
It's this immense, unimaginable loss that completely reshapes him, obviously.
So after that, this completely hollowed out Nemo takes command of the Nautilus.
Yes. And the source says he realizes he could strike back. But not just a rover. He decides to declare war on war itself.
So his personal tragedy transforms the Nautilus's purpose entirely.
Entirely. It becomes this instrument of, well, vengeance initially, but aimed at the concept of war. He starts sinking warships.
Including a British battleship, and significantly, an American naval vessel. And who is on that American ship?
Phileas Fogg, the meticulous traveler from Verne's other famous novel.
That's incredible. Worlds colliding.
Absolutely. And here's a really compelling twist. After sinking Fogg's ship, Nemo actually offers him passage.
Passage? Why?
You get him back to London in time to win his around the world in 80 days wager.
Wow. Even in his state of declared war on mankind, he does this.
Yes. It's this strange act of maybe atonement. Or just a flicker of something else. It shows how complex he is, even in his misanthropy.
It also makes you think about truth and narrative, doesn't it? Fogg meticulously records his journey.
Right. But Nemo challenges him directly on that. He tells Fogg, essentially, what is written down and published is not necessarily the truth.
Which is such a fascinating parallel to Verne writing these fictionalized versions of André Nemo's real or supposedly real life.
Exactly. It's very meta, in a way.
So despite this hardened heart, this war he's declared, Nemo makes a huge decision. He has to go back to Paris.
He does, to save Caroline.
Because France is now caught up in the Franco-Prussian War.
Yes, Paris is under siege. It's burning. A truly terrifying situation.
And the rescue must have been incredibly dramatic.
Oh, absolutely. Nemo navigates the Nautilus up the Seine River, slips into the besieged city completely unseen. He finds Caroline literally in her burning office, helps her escape, crucially, with her secret musical compositions.
Her music and her reaction when she sees him.
It's profound. The source says, she just says, "I knew you'd come."
Wow.
And she immediately recognizes the Nautilus, the real Nautilus. Says something like, Jules' descriptions did not do it justice.
And then she makes a choice.
A huge choice, a powerful moment of agency for her. She decides to leave civilized society behind and go with Nemo. She says, "This is my chance, Jules. This is my choice." A complete break from everything that had constrained her before.
So Nemo and Caroline disappear into this new life of freedom aboard the Nautilus. Meanwhile, back on land.
Jules Verne is becoming massively famous. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is a huge sensation.
But how did Verne feel about his own success compared to Nemo's life?
Well, the source tells us, even as a fictional person, Nemo still left Verne feeling envious and dissatisfied with his own accomplishments.
It really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? The writer versus the doer.
It does. And Jules himself reflects on it. He thinks there are two types of men in this world, Jules. Those who do things and those who wish they did. It's a pretty stark self-assessment.
Then comes the ultimate convergence. Nemo actually contacts Verne.
Yes, sends him a mysterious message. Invites him to finally board the real Nautilus.
So Verne, after writing about all these incredible journeys for years, finally gets to experience the real thing with his old friend.
He does, an actual undersea adventure. But what's striking is Nemo's state. He shows Verne the wonders of the Nautilus, but there's this profound weariness about him. He tells Jules that on board, they are isolated from the political turmoils of the world.
And his crew?
His crew, he explains, are devoted because they were essentially captured or declared dead by their own countries. They've chosen this exile, too. It explains their loyalty, their utopia on Nemo's mysterious island. It's a sanctuary born from total disillusionment with the world above.
The source says Nemo seemed to have lost some part of his heart through everything he'd endured. His old spark, now just a gray ember.
Yeah, the fire seems banked. But Caroline's presence makes a difference. She brings music, laughter, creates a real home for them there on the Nautilus, and she finally finds her own freedom to write and play her own music, her dream fulfilled in this very unconventional way.
So that final coming together for Nemo and Caroline, it's really about choosing a completely different path.
Absolutely. a life outside society's rules, away from the accusations and scorn of civilized society, as the source puts it. Their decision really suggests that maybe happiness, or at least contentment, can be found by making your own rules, even if it means being completely lost to the world everyone else knows.
Wow. So we've navigated these really turbulent waters today. Inspiration, truth, fiction, delving into these extraordinary intertwined lives of Jules Verne and his, well, unbelievable friend, André Nemo. Their lives gave us one of literature's most enduring characters, Captain Nemo. But the real story, as we've seen today from the sources, is just so much more complex and frankly more compelling.
Yeah, this deep dive really shows how intense real-world experiences, political upheaval, deep personal tragedy, that relentless thirst for knowledge, how all that can get transformed into these tales that last. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What do you think is the true cost, or maybe even the true reward, of turning real lives, real pain, real triumphs into these published legends for everyone else?
Maybe the greatest adventure isn't always in those distant lands or under the sea. Maybe it's actually in trying to understand the human heart, its incredible capacity for both invention and, yes, destruction, and the enduring power of dreams, even when they take you far away from the world. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.